Really, really distressing story. It's published here in the Free Press, Barry Weiss's paper. Headline, I'm 28 and I'm scheduled to die in May. Some right to die activists want everyone to have access to euthanasia, which means good death, even though it's ironic because it means the opposite of a good death. It's the worst kind of death, which is a suicide. Even young people with mental illness, are they making suicide contagious? The answer is obviously yes. Here's the story. I'll just read a few sections. It's a good article, though, and you should read the whole thing. Zoraya Beek, 28 years old, expects to be euthanized in early May. Her plan, she said, is to be cremated. I did not want to burden my partner with having to keep the grave tidy. Beek texted me, we've not picked an urn yet, but that will be my new house. And then she added an urn emoji after house. Very depressing. First thing that stands out, this woman has a boyfriend. But she doesn't want her boyfriend to have to go visit her grave, her remains. Her boyfriend can just forget about her. And then she makes this dark kind of joke. Tee-hee-hee, that'll be my new house. She said she was hobbled by her depression and autism and borderline personality disorder. Now she was tired of living, despite, she said, being in love with her boyfriend. Well, of course, she's not in love with her boyfriend. Something that struck me about suicide is it's a breaking up with everyone that you love. If one were to commit suicide, it would be like going up to every single person that you love or like or even have a passing affection for and saying, hey, I hate you. I hate you. So I hate you, mom. I hate you, dad. I hate you, husband. I hate you, wife. I hate you. I don't want to be with you anymore. Go away. I'm going to remove myself from the situation by killing myself. She says, oh, I love my boyfriend. Obviously, she doesn't. Or she feels her boyfriend doesn't love her back. Or her intellect and her will are totally muddled up by psychiatric and almost certainly spiritual problems. They're living in a nice house with their 2 cats. She recalled her psychiatrist telling her that they tried everything and there's nothing more we can do for you. It's never going to get any better. Okay, if that's true, that means this woman has been failed by her psychologist, who has a very perverse... If the psychologist believes that suicide is in any way acceptable, that is a very perverse psychologist who is not living up to the Hippocratic Oath. She's been failed by the other physicians who are allowing her to do this, who are violating the Hippocratic Oath. She's been failed by her political community, which is now embracing something totally, totally contrary to the natural law. She's been failed by her boyfriend. Why aren't they married? Why are they living together but they're not married? That's a failure of her boyfriend. She's been failed by her boyfriend and her whole community in the political order because they've got cats instead of kids. They should probably get married and have kids. That would probably be a little bit more fulfilling. Goes on. The doctor really takes her time. It's not that they walk in and say, lay down, please. Most of the time, it is first a cup of coffee to settle the nerves and create a soft atmosphere. Then she asks if I'm ready. I will take my place on the couch. She will once again ask if I'm sure, and she will start out the procedure and wish me a good journey, or in my case, a nice nap, because I hate it if people say safe journey. I'm not going anywhere. Then the doctor will administer a sedative, followed by a drug that will stop Beek's heart. This is the most ghastly scene. Maybe not the most ghastly scene I can imagine, because abortion clinics exist, but it's pretty close to the most ghastly scene I can imagine. In a way, it's more ghastly, because at least in abortion clinics, sometimes the mothers don't realize what they're doing. Even maybe sometimes the doctors don't realize what they're doing. In this case, everyone is so totally conscious of it. And the doctor who took an oath to help people and to cure people is going in to murder people and to exploit and prey upon people's depression and sadness and despair. She has asked her boyfriend to be with her to the very end. There won't be any funeral. She doesn't have much family. There again, failed by the community, failed by family, failed by the boyfriend. She doesn't think her friends will feel like going. Failed. She doesn't seem to have friends. She is despairing of that, failed by her friends. Instead, her boyfriend will scatter her ashes in a nice spot in the woods that they've chosen together, she said. Okay, really gory, awful stuff. The story comes up on the 7-year anniversary of a Netflix show that promoted suicide. I won't even promote the show by saying what the name of the show is, but it was a show that promoted suicide specifically for teenagers. That show launching was associated with an increase in suicide rates among U.S. children, U.S. kids ages 10 to 17, and not just a little increase. That show comes out and suicide rates among kids and teenagers jumps 28.9%, almost a 30% increase. That is, by the way, accounting for ongoing trends in suicide rates. So even if you say, well, the suicide rate was already ticking up, yeah, accounting for that. That show coming out 7 years ago ticked the kids' suicide rates up almost 30%. This is according to a study published just this week in the Journal of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. And there are still people on the left and on the right who, when you mention a social problem, a strange new social pathology, will say, yeah, but how does it affect you? How does it affect you if we allow people to do a bunch of drugs? How does it affect you if we, as a matter of law, encourage deviant sexual behaviors that will probably lead to more depression and anxiety and suicidality? I'm specifically talking, obviously, of course, of the issue. But how does it affect you? How does it affect you if we legalize suicide? It doesn't affect you, it's just someone else. It affects me because I'm a social creature and I'm the political animal, like everyone knew for all of history until we lost our minds 5 minutes ago. And we are all susceptible to trends. Virtually every behavior is vulnerable to social trends. Even the ones that we're told are totally innate and cannot possibly change. They're totally immutable. Like I just mentioned the issue, which always seems to crop up because it's so novel and bizarre. The rates of identification are up many multiples in recent years, specifically among young people who are the most impressionable, who have the most malleable minds. Is it because there's something in the water? Is it because there's some genetic defect going on? Or is it because virtually every behavior is subject to social trends? There's two kinds of virtues. I mentioned them earlier, the intellectual virtues and the moral virtues. Intellectual virtues you can gather through book learning, through teaching, which is great. You need to do that. Science, wisdom, yeah, that's great. That's wonderful too. But the moral virtues you can only gain through habit, through behavior. And we learn our habits, and we cultivate our habits, rather, through interactions with other people, because we're a social creature, and by imitating other people, and by living in society. And we copy what other people are doing. We copy what we see. And then that just becomes part of our identity, among the most important parts of our identity. And so if our culture becomes totally selfish and says, do whatever you want, forget about it, and ignores specifically the moral virtues, then a lot more people are going to kill themselves. Depressed 28-year-olds and even kids watching a TV show. That was a great clip. And I think we all agree. So you got to ring that bell, subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel, and you'll get more excellent, beautiful, sexy content